vegetarian bodybuilding diet. How many of us know this guy? You'll make a body through veg food, or what? You need chicken. Now the truth is that a veg diet for putting on muscle is a little bit more challenging than the non-vegetarian diet. But the truth is that you can put on muscle as a vegetarian. This is NFL athlete David Carter. And David Carter is a pure vegan. Vegan meaning no animal products, no paneer. The advantage of being a vegetarian in India is that we're surrounded by vegetarian protein sources. Believe it or not, a lot of Indian food items are actually very bodybuilding friendly, as we call it. But that doesn't mean the Indian diet is bodybuilding friendly. Now this is a picture of a typical Indian meal. It's got rotis, it's got a sabzi, and it's got dal. And unfortunately, most of the vegetarians in our country, before they get into the actual process of gymming and putting on muscle, they think that dal is enough protein. That's the society we've been brought up in. We've been told that dal is perfectly great for building muscle. And we also hear people saying that because horses consume chana, chana is great for putting on muscle. Indian society is full of these ideas, and that's why a lot of vegetarians in India don't know the scientific aspect of putting on muscle. And that's what I'm trying to bring you through today's video. Now, eventually I will be putting out a detailed meal plan for the entire week if you're a vegetarian who's trying to build lean muscle mass. But before that, we need to get friendlier with the scientific aspect of things. And vegetarian bodybuilding science is all about a few key tricks. Trick number 1, your protein number. On BeerBiceps, I don't promote the idea of measuring your food and estimating your exact macros, but I do promote the idea of getting very familiar with your protein goal. If you want to put on any amount of muscle, you need to consume at least a gram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you're a 50 kg individual, you need at least 50 grams of protein. And keep in mind, the higher you go with your protein intake, the faster you'll put on muscle mass. So you can go up to about 2.3 grams of protein per kg of body weight. If you want to calculate your exact protein requirement, I highly recommend you go and check out the video I made on protein requirements. Trick number 2 is muscle science. You need to understand the science of complete and incomplete proteins. Now, in order to build any form of muscle, your body requires 9 essential amino acids that you'll get from your diet. Think of it as a jigsaw puzzle, and in order for the puzzle to be complete, you need all 9 pieces. Now, animal protein is complete protein. So from eggs or milk or meat, you're getting all 9 essential amino acids that will help you put on muscle mass. But we're talking about plant protein here. As a vegetarian, if you're consuming only plant protein, no plant protein has a complete amino acid profile. You're getting a few of those jigsaw pieces. So as a vegetarian, your job has to be to complete that jigsaw puzzle. And there's 2 ways of going about this. Either you rely heavily on paneer, which is an animal protein and it's a complete protein and it's great for you putting on muscle mass. Or the second way is you embrace plant proteins, but you make sure you get a varied source of plant proteins. So you want to include everything from legumes to nuts to grains to millets to every vegetarian protein source you can think of. And you also got to keep in mind that the only plant protein is soy protein. So you are getting all 9 essential amino acids from soy protein, but you shouldn't be reliant on only one single protein source. If you're wondering how I'm recommending soy and doesn't soy mess around with your hormones, I've made a detailed video covering that exact topic, so make sure you check it out. Trick number 3 is a little bit obvious, but it's also very important. Your biggest job as a vegetarian is educating yourself about the different vegetarian protein sources available in India. You gotta understand that the vegetarian protein sources available abroad are very different from those available here. And a lot of foods that are termed unhealthy abroad, like the gluten-rich wheat, are actually very good protein sources, and they're very suited to Indian bodies. So you need to embrace these Indian protein sources. For example, something like upma, which is made out of rava, is actually super high on protein. It's also high on carbs, but that's another story. You need to understand that a lot of carb sources in India are giving you a lot of protein, and your job should be to include them in your diet. Trick number 4 is macro education. The biggest disadvantage of being a vegetarian who's trying to put on muscle mass in India is that all our vegetarian protein sources are either high on fat or also high on carbs. If you're going for something like paneer or nuts, which are great vegetarian protein sources, you're also ingesting a lot of fat. And if you're ingesting something like pulses, dals, legumes, chana, things like that, they're all high on carbs as well. Even something like soy protein is high on carbs. Now this is where you have to be a little bit smart. It goes without saying that you need to educate yourself about which protein sources are high in which macro. And secondly, you need to manipulate your macros. So say suppose on a day you're going to consume a lot of paneer and you know you're consuming paneer, make sure you lower down your other fat macros. So don't go overboard with the nuts or with the ghee that you put on your roti or with your ghee you use to fry the paneer. That way you're balancing out your fat macros that you're also getting from your vegetarian protein source. The same thing goes with something like sprouts. If on a day you're consuming a lot of sprouts or soy or dal, you need to understand you're also consuming a lot of carbohydrate. So on that particular day, go a little bit easy on your upma and your rotis. You want to balance things out always. You got to understand that balance is the key to putting on muscle mass. If you don't balance out these macros, you'll end up becoming fat along with putting on your muscle mass, and that's something you want to avoid. Trick number 5 is supplements. You need to understand that as a vegetarian, just including a few supplements in your diet is first of all perfectly safe, and secondly, it's going to speed up the whole process for you. And unfortunately, in our country where Indian diets aren't very protein rich, you need to have some kind of supplements in your diet, especially if you're a vegetarian. For non-vegetarians, generally, I do not recommend supplements, but for vegetarians, I always recommend that you start with a simple whey protein concentrate and maybe think about starting creatine about 6 months into the process. Now, you've got to understand that the two biggest enemies of the supplement industry are either the beginners who've just started out on the gymming process or the parents of gymmers who think that we're putting artificial powders into your body. You need to understand that the whole world uses supplements today, and supplements are not artificial. Something like whey protein is a powder derived from milk. It's not harmful at all. If you want to figure out which whey protein to go for and the science behind whey proteins, make sure you check out the video I made on supplements. Now you've got to understand that it's not necessary to use supplements as a vegetarian bodybuilder. It's completely your call. If you want to go the complete natural way, it's okay. That's entirely your call, but you need to understand that the process will be a little bit slower. And that's the main issue with vegetarian bodybuilding. The only disadvantage is that the process is much slower. You might take a little bit longer to put on muscle mass than your non-vegetarian friends. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that it's not about who throws the heaviest punch. It's about who sticks to the process the longest, who gets hit in the face and who keeps moving forward. The key with vegetarian bodybuilding is consistency and grit. Stick to the process as long as possible and you will get results. If you want a sample of a vegetarian bodybuilding plan, make sure you check out my full day of vegetarian eating that I put up on my channel a while back. And if you want more information on the muscle building process, make sure you check out my muscle building science playlist. Until next time guys, if you liked today's video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and I will see you later.